What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monte Sports Show. It is Sunday, August 30th, 2020. I am your host, Monte Perez, a.k.a. The Sports Whisperer. You can follow me on all sorts of social media. On Twitter, MonteJP231, Facebook, Monte Perez, and Instagram, Monte Perez2. That is spelled with an E, not a Y. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Last week, we had 35 states across the country tune into the full Monte Sports Show. Our goal is to do this 5 days a week, and we can only do that with your help. So if you like this show, you like sports and comedy, and our guests, feel free to repost this all over social media, repost the YouTube video. We're getting very close to our goal, so I want to thank each and every one of you. And, of course, keep the comments coming on the top right-hand corner. I want to let you know I read every comment after the show. I read every comment during the week. Your thoughts and opinions matters. One of our ways to be more interactive is by posting these comments. So if I miss your comment during the show and I don't get a chance to post it, I apologize, but don't worry, I do read every comment. We have the best guests all across the country, and this week is no different. I am so excited. First-time guest of the full Monte Sports Show, Brad Ward, will join us to talk about the Cleveland Browns. And then we have Jared Milligan, a fan favorite. He's going to join us. Jared's going to join us in about 40 minutes. He's going to talk a little NBA bubble. He's also going to talk some 49er talk. And, the NBA bubble, look, the Lakers advanced. We have all sorts of playoff games today. So we'll get Jared's thoughts on, the young bucks, so to speak. The young guys in the NBA bubble have really shined. So we'll talk to him about that. And at the top of the hour, Rico, show me the money, Graziano, joins us each and every week for fantasy football and also NFL round table chat. I have my big money fantasy football league draft tonight at 8 p.m., so I'm looking forward to that. I finished third last year, so hopefully I can finish in the top three again and win some money. But first, let's begin our journey with this. Let's begin our journey today with this. Now, I have to preface by saying this is part one of a two-part story. Yes, part one of a two-part story. So I'm only going to tell you half now. You're going to have to wait a week, like a sitcom, like a drama, like Law and Order. It's a continuation. So this is part one. Don't get frustrated when I end the story, because it is part one. So gather around the campfire, light those marshmallows, and let's enjoy. So my friend Suds texted me this week. Everyone has that friend that your family really doesn't know. You don't see them a few times a year. You go out for a couple of drinks, and hanging out with them always makes you feel better about yourself because their life is so bad. So my friend Suds, and we call him Suds because he only drinks tap beer. That's his favorite. His wife bought him this beautiful bar set down in his basement, and he only drinks tap beer. So we call him Suds. That's his nickname. We've been calling him that since he was 17. So he texts me, and it's the same text that he does 3 or 4 times per year where he says, I got to get back in shape, and you have to help me. Now, Suds has never been in shape. Never. So this notion that he has to get back into shape is really, it's not fitting. It's not appropriate. It's not, it has nothing to do with his overall appearance. He tells friends, yeah, I got to get back in shape. No, Suds, you've never been in shape. There was at one time where, God bless him, he worked out for like 3 months on a program that I gave him, and I met up with him and his wife, and I'm like, great job, man. How much weight did you lose? He goes, like 25 pounds. I was like, good job, man. Looking good. Great job. So later on in the evening, he's like, you didn't even compliment me. What are you talking about? He's like, I lost 25 pounds. You didn't compliment me. I said, you look good. He goes, yeah, but you didn't compliment me specifically. So it reminded me of the movie Dumb and Dumber, right? When a man and woman walk by a couple, and Harry says to Lloyd Christmas, would you look at the butt on that? And Lloyd says, yeah, he must work out, right? I mean, what am I supposed to say here? What's my level of compliment? Suds, great butt. Hey, Suds, your arms looking great. Can I touch them? What am I supposed to do here? What's my level of empathy? What's my level? Where do I need to go? I wrote him the program. He worked out. So he says, I got to get back in shape because the old lady is getting on my case. First of all, his wife is 7 years younger than him. Anytime you call someone old lady, that should be grounds for them to cheat on you. That should be grounds for them to file for divorce. No woman wants to be called an old lady, especially her. She's been a yoga instructor for 15 years. She's about 5'6", weighs about 120 pounds. She looks like a Greek goddess. What? Is this on? Did I say that out loud? My point is, you have a wife who takes care of herself. You shouldn't need me to do it. And I tell him this. I say, it's the same thing every year, dude. It's like, you're not going to listen to me. He goes, look, you got to figure out a way to get me in shape over the next 3 years. You are the smartest person I know. Now, first of all, if I am the smartest person you know, you not only need to reevaluate your life, you need to reevaluate your friends, what you're thinking, because I am not that bright. People think I'm smart, but I'm not. I want to be smart, but I'm not. I'll give you a few examples. My friend Felix, I asked him, what are you doing this weekend? And Felix said, I'm reading. I said, okay, what are you doing this weekend? He goes, no, man, I got like 6 books I'm going to read. 6 books you're going to read during the weekend? What? I haven't read 6 books in 6 years. Now, look, I read articles every day, but I haven't read books. So, Felix is, I think he's 24 years old. And I said to him, is this for a book report? Is this for like a midterm? First of all, I didn't even think it was like for his master's. I didn't think it was for, some college class. I said book report, which shows you how out of touch I am. He said, no, I just want to read 6 books. It's what I enjoy to do. 6 books on a weekend. Again, I'm not that bright. People think I'm smart, but I'm not. And this is why I no longer go to dinner parties. See, let me explain. I'll go to a barbecue. Okay? I'll go to a picnic because at a barbecue, a pool party, a picnic, you can leave any conversation with no explanation. And this is why I love it. No one questions why you leave. If someone asks you something you don't feel like talking about, you could say, hey, man, I'm going to go get another drink. Or, hey, I got to use the bathroom. I'm going to go jump in the pool. I'm sweaty. I'm going to go get a hot dog. You can leave without any excuse, and no one is offended by it. By the way, I haven't had a hot dog since like the fall of 1997. Now, this has no bearing on the story. I just want you to know about my eating choices. So this is why I don't go to dinner parties. The last dinner party I went to, my ex, okay, every Sunday she would cook dinner for her mom, her dad, her 6 uncles, and their wives. It was a tradition that her dad started, and she took over the tradition. So every Sunday, we would have 15 to 20 people at the dinner table. And again, there's nowhere to go. You have 3 or 4 hours of conversation. Now, here's the topper of all this. Her uncles, her parents were all college professors. They all had their masters. They are all very smart people. And I would always get lost in the conversation. Sometimes they would say things I had no idea about. So her uncle was talking about how the economy in America is going down the toilet, but at least it didn't go bankrupt like Greece. Again, we're at the dinner party and they're talking about how Greece went bankrupt. So I chime in and I say, word for word, of course Greece went bankrupt. Who's going to go see the Broadway play when John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, it's one of the greatest musicals of all time? This is what I said. He looked at me like I had 3 heads and he said, I'm talking about Greece, the country. Now, the look on their faces when I said Greece, Of course, the play went bankrupt. Would make you literally, seriously, a normal person, what a normal person would have done is got in the car, drove home crying, and break up with the woman and never to be heard from again. That's what any normal person would do. When someone's talking about the economy in Greece and you bring up John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, do not collect $200. Do not pass go. Just literally get the hell out of there and cry yourself on the whole way home. But not me. No, not this guy. Not this guy. What did I do next when they said that the economy in Greece was bankrupt? I said, yeah, it's no big deal because you know why? Everyone loves Greek yogurt. Everyone loves Greek salad. They're going to bounce back. This was my rebuttal. This was my rebuttal. Again, the look on their faces when I brought up Greek yogurt and Greek salad, to think somehow, some way, that's going to help Greece's floundering economy. I mean, again, any normal person would have just cried in their car, drove home, saved some face, break up with the girl, but not me. Not me. And that is unfortunately the end of part one to the story. Now, it will be continued next week. And I warned you in the beginning. I warned you. I said, this is just part one of the story. So I will remind you next week, because my friend Suds, he is still part of the story. We call him Suds because, again, he only drinks tap beer. And the unfortunate incident at why I don't go to dinner parties anymore, because I'm just socially unacceptable. So that is part one of the story. And again, we will continue that next week. Now, we start each show with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, let's start with the good. The Colts had a team meeting. All the players and coaches are registering to vote. As part of that meeting, Coach Frank Reich met up with team's leadership council, and they set this up. This is a tremendous thing. Colts quarterback Jacoby Brissett and head coach Frank Reich are leading the charge to get every player and member of the coaching staff registered to vote. The Colts also announced they wouldn't be holding training camp a few days this week to make sure that every player is registered to vote. This is a great thing. Look, Doc Rivers said in the meeting something like only 25% of NBA players were registered to vote. Remember, only 48% of Americans voted in 2016. So this is a great thing by the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball. They're all trying to do their part. So great job by the Colts. More teams are following suit. Get these guys to vote, have a voice. We can only change what we don't like if we vote. Your vote does matter. Now to the bad. So former Chicago Bears Brian Urlacher got sacked by Twitter on Thursday after comments he made that compare and contrast the NBA players' postponement versus Brett Favre playing when his father passed away. The NBA postponed playoff games Wednesday and Thursday as its players wanted to protest the recent shooting of Jacob Blake, a black man shot multiple times by the police. Here's Brian Urlacher again. Look, and Brian Urlacher looks like every guy we now see holding a firearm in the middle of the streets, right? He looks like one of these guys. He said that Brett Favre was a legend for playing Monday Night Football the day after his father passed away. Urlacher was comparing a bunch of racist cops killing an innocent black man to Favre's dad dying of natural causes. Urlacher said NBA players would protest the killing. Basically, what Urlacher said here is that why are we protesting this man who is reaching in his car to grab a knife? Now, this is just gaslighting. It's race baiting. It's whatever you want to call it. But here's the problem. You want me to believe that a black man has kids in his car, there are cops holding firearms at him, and he's going to reach into his car and grab a knife to try to defend himself? Doesn't make any sense. Even the dumbest person can realize that that wouldn't happen. So Brian Urlacher, on the wrong side of history. Another one of these guys who's full of all this testosterone and, we should support all cops. I've said this numerous times. I will support any politician, any teacher, any doctor, any lawyer, any police officer, as long as they are not racist, as long as they are not corrupt. And now we'll get to the ugly before we bring on Brad. Before the Dolphins could release Kalen Ballage, Adam Gase and the Jets, okay, here you see Ballage, a running back for the Miami Dolphins. Adam Gase and the Jets decided to trade a late-round pick for him. The AFC East rival trade. So Ballage is now reunited with the wacko Gase right here, who no players really like him on the Jets. So again, someone tweeted, plot twist, the Dolphins are trading for running back Kalen Ballage to the Jets for a late-round pick. Miami had planned to release him. Now look, the Jets have Le'Veon Bell. They have Frank Gore. They got the rookie LaMichael Perrine from Florida. So I don't understand what Adam Gase is doing here. Let me just simplify this for people who don't understand exactly why they would do this. Let's say your partner, your wife, your husband says, hey, the neighbor down the street is throwing out their couch. I want to put that in the spare bedroom. It's like a year old. It's in great shape. So your partner, your husband and wife goes there and comes back and go, I got it for $1,000. Wait, what? He was giving it away for free. No, I'm going to pay $1,000. This is what the Jets did. This guy, Ballage, is not even going to be in their top 2 or 3 running backs because they have Le'Veon Bell. They have Frank Gore. They got the rookie. And they wasted a draft pick on him. What are you doing, Adam Gase? What are you doing? What are you doing, Adam Gase? This is a terrible job all the way around. Terrible job. I am so upset because draft picks, we know this. Draft picks are valuable. And yes, I'm leaving that picture up there to show you how crazy Adam Gase is for this and many other reasons. And there you have the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, before we bring on Brian Ward, I went all Grease Lightning. T-Birds. Grease versus Grease. Yes, obviously. Obviously, I made a terrible, terrible mistake. If Suds gains another 10 pounds, he'd be a complete circle. Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. All right. Now, keep the comments coming. We obviously love having them. Definitely funny. Make our show more interactive. Yes, and I will continue that story next week. We're going to bring on, listen, I was so happy to talk to you yesterday. I've been trying to get Cleveland Brown, someone knowledgeable. We have Brad Ward on. Brad is the writer for the Browns Wire, host, producer of All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. So, Brad, how you doing today?
I'm excellent. Monte, thank you for having me, sir.
Love the setup. Love the microphone. Let's get you some comfortable background right here. A little of the Browns.
Oh, I love it. That's great. I like that Ballage stuff, man. That's such a Jets thing to do. It's great.
No, it's so classic Jets, right? And that's why I try to break it down to like it's a free couch, and your partner goes over and spends $1,000 on it. I mean, they could have got this guy for free, and they already have they're going to use Frank Gore in goal line situations. Le'Veon Bell, they're paying him a ton of money. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
listen,
he's not great either.
We start the show. We try to get fans fired up, try to get our guests fired up. So I'm going to show you 3 pictures, and I want you to talk about what this meant to not only the city of Akron, but the city of Cleveland, but Ohio as well. Here's LeBron James bringing a title to Cleveland for the first time since 1964. And look at this, just a great moment when everyone gathered to watch LeBron James. And, talk about what that meant to your city and what that meant to you.
I mean, obviously it has a fond place in my heart. I will never forget it. It was such a surreal moment. How many times that Cleveland fans have had victory snatched from them with the Indians and in the past. And I just it was hard to believe that it was real when it actually happened, but it was truly unbelievable. families, fathers and sons, lots of tears. I called my father, hugged my son. My son was crying. I mean, it was just an incredible moment. Long time coming, obviously, 1964 to end the curse. It was in the way that series went, Monte, being down 3-1, it was like the drama just built, 3-2. 3-3. Then they got to go out to Oakland in Game 7, and the improbability of them pulling that off. And they didn't score for like 2 minutes, if you remember, at the end of the game. Then Kyrie hits the shot, and then
I said in one NBA Finals, it was the greatest defensive play in the history of the NBA Finals for what it meant when LeBron James blocked the shot, and then it was the biggest shot in the history of the NBA Finals. People say Ray Allen, but that was Game 6. They still had another game. When Kyrie Irving hits that, not just because they were the first team to ever come back from a 1-3 deficit, but Cleveland hadn't won a title since 1964 in any sport.
Yeah, no question. It was unbelievable. Kyrie is quite a character and has left town since then, but no matter what he says, all the flat earth stuff and every thing that crazy that comes out of his mouth, I will always have a fond place for him in my heart just because of the shot. I mean, I can't hate him. He delivered in the clutch, and it was unbelievable. It was truly unbelievable.
No, listen, I say, Mark Messier won a Stanley Cup in 1994. I grew up a Ranger fan. They hadn't won a cup since 1940. To this day, Mark Messier can't walk into a New York bar without someone buying him a drink. I think the same way for Kyrie Irving. Like, he may have left, but he will always be revered. The shot heard around the world. That's a great memory. All right, let's talk some Browns. My brother is a huge LSU fan, so I know about Grant Delpit, the safety from LSU. He is out for the year with a torn ACL. What does this mean for this defense on the back end?
It's brutal, actually. I mean, so new defensive coordinator Joe Woods came in from San Francisco. He was out there with Saleh. As the defensive backs coach. He's heading up the Browns defense this year. He called him ideal for the back end of this defense. He kind of played that Viper position where they were going to use him in the box. They were going to get him up and to cover tight ends, also play in the slot a little bit.
A lot like Jamal Adams used to be with the Jets. Like, he'll sometimes blitz. He'll take the running back, the tight end. So Delpit was very versatile, right?
Very versatile. He's going to play deep he could play the deep part of their cover three. He could play in the 2 deep. He could play in the box. He could do it all. And they're going to play with a lot of 3 safeties on the field because their linebackers are poor and inexperienced. So that's kind of what the plan was. So losing him is crucial. I actually wrote a piece right afterwards advocating of them going out and getting Logan Ryan off the free agency market, as him and his agent are pushing him as a safety now, which I think he has some of that versatility too. It's a little late now because all the protocols and everything takes about 3 days to get into practice. It's not like it would be in a normal year where you could just call him up and have him there the next day. So it's interesting.
So let's talk about this defense. Again, we talked about one of the things that concerns me with Cleveland is you look at the Ravens who love to run the ball, so you're going to need some playmaking linebackers, which is not their strength. But Myles Garrett signed a 5-year, $125 million contract extension with the Browns. He's receiving $50 million in full guaranteed. Listen, he could be the next J.J. Watt. I mean, he's that level of talented. He's feisty. Talk about what you like about them locking him up, what he brings to the team, and what are the weaknesses on this defense?
Well, so as far as Garrett goes, he's an absolute stud. Locking him up is a no-brainer. It's actually the first time the Browns have extended one of their own draft picks since Joe Hayden. So that tells you something about their culture.
Wow.
So, I mean, they've got to start signing some guys because they've drafted well in the past couple of years. They have some guys up that they're going to want to re-sign, like Chubb, Mayfield, potentially. They're going to have Denzel Ward come up. They have an inside linebacker named Larry Ogunjobi, who's pretty good, and they're going to want to sign him. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. So some of these guys are going to get extensions. Their front four is very good, Monte. So Sheldon Richardson.
One of the best in the NFL.
Yeah, Sheldon Richardson, Olivier Vernon, Ogunjobi, and Garrett. And then they signed Adrian Claiborne, who brings some good depth off the edge. Now, when you talk about their linebackers, they were suspect coming in, and they lost their best linebacker in Mack Wilson to an ACL injury. No surgery needed, out to 8 to 10 weeks. So losing him is crucial. It's going to force their rookie, Jacob Phillips, another LSU kid, into playing. But I expect them to play with 2 linebackers on the field a lot, 3 safeties on the field a lot. They're going to play a lot of sub packages. You won't see them in a traditional 4-3 very much at all, just because they don't have the horses. They did go out and sign Malcolm Smith, former Super Bowl MVP from Seattle. He brings some depth and some experience, but he's on the later half of his career.
Is this an overreach to say that their front 4, that their down linemen could have more than 23, 24 sacks this year?
Oh, no question. No question. Because you expect, I think Garrett will get, 15, 16?
And he's going to be double teamed, so that leaves a lot of one-on-one coverage for the other guys. Yeah,
and Ogunjobi can get to the quarterback. They could actually line up, kind of like San Francisco did a lot last year, like a 5, where you put 5 linemen up there, like a 5-2 front at times, and send Claiborne and all those guys at the quarterback if they really want to blitz and really put some pressure on some people. So the front 4 is going to have to do their job because linebackers are suspect and they're really thin in the secondary. They've got a couple good man-to-man corners in Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward. But after that, you're looking at the safeties. I like Carl Joseph as a safety. They got him from the Raiders. And Andrew Sendejo from Minnesota, but they lost that Viper position that we were talking about that they really want to use.
Any chance of them going after Earl Thomas?
I don't want them to personally, but he would fit in the scheme. They're going to run a lot of that Seattle cover 3 that they made famous, that Earl Thomas would know better than anybody. So bringing him in to play safety would make sense. Is it what Stefanski and Andrew Berry are trying to do culture-wise here? Absolutely not.
And for those of you who don't know, Earl Thomas played with the Seattle Seahawks, and then he just got cut by the Ravens.
Yeah,
they cut him. And they said it was a fight, but it wasn't a fight. I mean, every NFL training camp, there are fist fights. It was just more of he didn't fit their style. And if you can't play for Pete Carroll and John Harbaugh, I don't know who you're going to play for, because those are the most friendly player coaches in the NFL. Okay, so let's move to I wrote an article on Nuts and Bolts Sports a couple weeks ago, saying the Browns have the most talented skill position of any team in the NFL. More so than the Kansas City Chiefs, more so than the Saints. Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry had 157 catches. Austin Hooper, who came over from the tight end from Atlanta, 75 catches. Nick Chubb ran for over 1,400 yards. And they have the backup, Kareem Hunt. Again, we're talking with Brad Ward on the Full Monty Sports Show. How do you see this offense? And I think on paper, obviously Baker Mayfield has to manage this team. But on paper, aren't they going to be a dominant running team?
Yeah, they should be, absolutely. They're employing the wide zone scheme that the Shanahans and Gary Kubiak made famous. It's what Stefanski runs. It'll be ideal for Chubb and Kareem Hunt. How they split up those carries will be interesting. I'd like to see Chubb get 20 touches, turn around and hand it to him 20 times a game, and then Hunt probably get the rest. They'll probably have a package for him in the pass game too. But you're right. You look at Beckham, Landry. Landry's more like he's kind of the heartbeat of the team. He does it all. He's a hard worker. He's all in all the time. Cleveland Browns. Odell is there, very talented. They both played hurt last year. They both claim to be very healthy and in a good spot this year. They bring in Hooper. They're going to run a lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends on the field. They brought in a rookie, Harrison Bryant, and they have David Njoku as well, who's a really talented guy from the U at tight end. So they're loaded on offense. There's no reason that they shouldn't be able to have a dynamic offense, and especially early here because they're behind big time with a new head coach installing a new offense, no off season. They're still installing their offense like yesterday. They're still doing
listen,
installs.
You bring up a great point. Baker, up and down in his first two seasons. I think, part of the problem, and we were talking yesterday, is that he's had 4 different coaches. I mean, that to me, Drew Lock had 4 different offensive coordinators at Missouri. Then he goes to the NFL. He's had 2 different offenses. So that's 6 offensive coordinators in 6 years. So my biggest concern with any team is that new coach, like we'll talk about Dallas, everyone is high on the Cowboys. One of the reasons why I'm higher on the Eagles is Carson Wentz and their coaching staff have been together. Dallas Cowboys bringing Mike McCarthy, new system, new thing. You're talking about that right now. So what have you seen from Baker from last year to this year? Everything he says seems to be right. He seems like he's matured. He says he wasn't in the best shape he could have been in. It seems like he's evolving and learning as we go.
There is a visible difference. No joke. There's a visible difference in his shape. A lot of that is made out to be a narrative. People laugh at it. Here in town, that's kind of a big topic. Called him Chunky last year and all kinds of stuff. Chunky Baker and Skinny Baker and all that ridiculous stuff. But he actually does look a lot better this year. He did lose some weight. Last summer he got married. He was on the cover of GQ magazine. He did a ton of commercials. The work obviously wasn't put in like he thought. He even admitted he thought it was going to be easy after his rookie year, setting the rookie passing touchdown record and everything. He comes in really high. He struggled. He went away from everything. His footwork was poor. He's always thrown off his back foot. Simple stuff like a little throw out to the flat to a running back. He throws 170 miles an hour. I mean, the guy's not going to catch the ball. So Alex Van Pelt, quarterback coach, has been really good for him, I think.
I think that's huge. I think that's huge for him. Huge from Alex Van Pelt. Wasn't a great pro, but he was a pro's pro, constantly working. He was always one of these backups who came in early with the starting quarterbacks, stayed late. Is this doable for Baker this year? 3,500 passing yards, 65% completion. That's what I'm really looking for. I want him to be accurate. 30 touchdowns, less than 14 interceptions. Is that doable?
So I would say that the 3,500 is easily doable. He did that in both of his seasons so far. He's eclipsed that is in his rookie year in only 13 starts. He eclipsed that. So I would expect him to be over 4,000 yards this year, pretty easily actually. Now the touchdown to interception ratio, that's what we're really talking about, right? So 29 and 14 at his rookie year. And then very uneven last year, 22 touchdowns, 21 interceptions, a lot of tip balls, a lot of inaccuracy, stuff that we didn't think we'd be talking about with Baker because he was lauded for his accuracy coming out of Oklahoma. So we'll see. I can tell you, we watch training camp on Training Camp Live. It's a weird angle. You can't see anything. I've watched every practice so far. He's been inaccurate so far in practice. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. They're installing a new offense. I don't know how much you can put behind that, but he hasn't put the ball where it always needs to be. It's something I'm certainly watching, but I expect him to be better this year. This offense really does play to his strengths. So 65% completion, I'll say 62, 63, but do I think he can throw 30 touchdowns and keep it under 15 interceptions? Absolutely.
Yeah, listen, Lincoln Riley is the quarterback whisperer. I'm so anxious to see if Oklahoma does, for the first time, you look at Lincoln Riley, he's had all transfers. He had Baker Mayfield, then he has Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray was a backup. He's only had 1-year starters or 2-year starters. Now he has a kid who's coming in who's supposed to be phenomenal, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the country. He's going to have him for 3 years. Yeah. So I want to say anyone who's under, I'm surprised that Lincoln Riley has not been pursued for a head coaching job. We're talking about the coach of Oklahoma, of course. So the Browns have had 12 head coaches, speaking of coaches, since 2000. Kevin Stefanski comes in, being the former offensive coordinator. He turned Kirk Cousins' career around. What do you like about him as an offensive coordinator? What do you like about him as a coach so far?
He's very buttoned up, Monte. He's very the adult in the room that the Browns have been.
Very good point.
So if you look at Hugh Jackson and Freddie Kitchens, last two coaches, very ego-centric, very immature at times. You can just tell, like, when they do press availability, they try to appease the reporters all the time. You've got Stefanski in there. He's not, he doesn't give away anything. He'll tell them, listen, we're keeping that in-house. So now we've said this before. So, said this 12 times, like you said. It feels different every time. He does feel more buttoned up and more adult in the room, and attention to detail is the difference I see in him. A more mature coach, I think he's ready for the opportunity.
We talked about this, and you and I kind of disagreed. And Joe says it's a make or break year for Baker, no excuses. You're saying it's not because, this is his fourth coach in 3 years. So if Baker struggles, you still think that you're not giving up on him, correct?
I wouldn't. The investment of a number 1 overall pick, 4 OCs, 4 different offenses, 4 head coaches in 3 years, you're not doing him any favors. You saw what he could do his rookie year, right? We saw that. He played really well. Even last year in an uneven season, he flips the field. He still makes game-changing plays. If he's uneven again this year, I wouldn't bail on him. I'd like to see them see out that rookie contract, regardless of if he's uneven again this year. Just because there's so much of an investment there, I wouldn't bail on it at this point. How many guys does it take 3-4 years to really get it? We've seen glimpses of how good he can be.
Okay, so give us your prediction for every team in this division, because I think the Browns are 2-3 years away. We talked about, new coach, rookie quarterback in Joe Burrows. My brother loves him, but I'm sorry to say they're going to be terrible. So give us your prediction record-wise for the Steelers, the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Browns.
So Ravens went 14-2, right? I don't think that's repeatable. They were just on fire last year. Unbelievable. I don't think you can repeat that. I have them at 11-5 and winning the division. I think that's more of what we're looking at this year. Teams are going to figure.
Cowherd, the Fox Sports 1 guy who used to be on ESPN, he said the Ravens are going 16-0. That's what he said numerous times.
He's kind of a knucklehead. I think he says a lot of. I think he says a lot of things for attention. Not a big fan of calling myself there. Monte.
Okay, so Ravens 11-5.
Yeah, 11-5. I've got the Steelers, and they got Big Ben back. Will he hold up is the big question, right? With his elbow and everything else. I mean, he's getting up there, and he's taking a lot of beatings. I got them at 9-7 though, because their defense is ridiculous. And then I have the Browns also at 9-7 this year, and then I have what's that?
Wild card.
Yeah, I got them both at 9-7. You got the NFL got doing 7 playoff teams on each side this year. So you would think one of them would get in. So those head-to-heads, I think, will be pretty crucial between the Steelers and the Browns. And then I got the Bengals at 5-11.
Could you say that the Steelers, Ravens, and Browns have the best 3 teams? If you look at we know the Steelers can sack the quarterback like no one's business. The Ravens defense is going to be better. Could you say it's one of the best defenses? It's hard because you got to throw the Bengals out of there, but those 3 teams could all be top 10 defenses, no?
I think that the Browns, I would eliminate the Browns. I don't think they can be a top 10 defense. They can be a, middle of the road defense. If they do that, I would be really happy just because they're so inexperienced on the second level and the back end. Front 4, excellent. But what you're going to get from your linebackers and your secondary, I think, is a little suspect.
Okay, Brad, so do you want them to go after Earl Thomas, yes or no? You're saying no because of chemistry issues, correct?
Yeah, no, I don't want to. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. Despite
the fact that they need someone back there to be the quarterback.
I don't think it's worth it. So how long the Browns have gone through? The Browns aren't the type of an organization yet where they have a strong enough infrastructure to handle him.
Great point. Great point. No,
I mean,
great point.
if it was the Patriots, they can do that, right?
Right.
Or the Ravens or the Seahawks. The two teams that had him are probably two of the organizations that are strong enough to handle a guy like that, and they couldn't handle him.
Yeah.
So how are the Browns going to handle him?
No, great point.
Head coach, I wouldn't mess with it. It's not worth it to them.
I say this all the time. You think about how great Mike Tomlin is, because half the stuff that he had to deal with Antonio Brown, people want to make fun of Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell has been an absolute soldier for the Jets, and I know this because I follow the Jets. He has not – everything Le'Veon Bell has done has been company man. But Antonio Brown was a disaster for 7-8 years, and it was only because of the leadership of the Steelers that kept that kind of at bay. Listen, Brad, this has been great. We want to have you again once the season starts. How can we support what you're doing? I lived in Elyria for a year. I'm Westlake. I love the Cleveland fans, so I'm so glad you came on. How can we support you and what you're doing on social media?
That's awesome. I could talk to you for hours here, Monte, so this has been great. I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, so I write at USA Today Sports Media Group's thebrownswire.com. So you can go check out any of my writing there. And I host and produce a podcast called All Eyes on Cleveland. We have national guests. We have local guests, all about the Browns, trying to stay up on everything Cleveland Browns for you. And we're going to transition to video here from podcast to video as well, too. So hopefully we'll be on YouTube here as well. And then go to www.alleyesoncleveland.com. You can get anything you need right there.
Listen, I lived there for a year. I absolutely loved it. Love your passion. Love your knowledge. Like I said, always put your stuff on my page so I can retweet it and people can follow you. And do you have a target date when you're going to switch to YouTube?
In the next month, let's say that.
Okay.
In the next month. Monty, I want to send you an All Eyes on Cleveland t-shirt too, man.
Oh, that would be great.
Send it to you. So
that would be great.
Send me your address and your size. We're going to send it to you.
I definitely will. Thanks. Listen, Brad, anytime you want to come on, anytime you want to plug something, you have a home here. Really appreciate you taking the time this Sunday morning.
Hey, it's been a blast, man. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Again, that was Brad Ward. Definitely follow him, Ward on Sports. If you're a Cleveland Brown fan, if you're a sports fan, like I said, I've had a lot of people who try to come on this show, and I love you all for reaching out to me. But one of the things I always say to people who want to come on my show, if I don't know you personally, if I don't follow you, I want to know what you're doing, because I've written over 500 articles in the last 2.5 years. I want to see people who grind. He is a grinder. He's a passionate fan base. So when he agreed to come on my show, I was so excited because I saw what he was doing, and I obviously knew he was going to be a great guest. Now, we're going to bring on a fan favorite here, Jared Milligan. Jared, how are you this morning?
What's going on, man?
I'm doing good, Jared. I know you've been texting me about the 49ers, and we're going to get into all that stuff. First, let me put this background here for you, just to get you comfortable.
Make me feel at home. Thank you. I appreciate it. My blanket.
You're a married man. That is not your blanket. Are you telling me that this is your blanket as an adult male?
Look behind you. Are you serious right now? You look like you're a coach up in the skybox right now with your headset and your Ducks gear. And you're going to talk about me?
Jared, I'm not married.
I'm the offensive coordinator for the Oregon Ducks.
I wish I would be. I'd be great. Okay, so Jared, before we get into all that, I'm going to start this by I don't know if I need to get a restraining order for this man, but you are obsessed with this guy. So watch this video right here. Talk to the fans. Who is that? What is he doing?
I mean, that's the play of the year. Clearly. Have you ever seen a play like that in your life? I mean, I've been watching football for, 20, 30 years, and I've never seen something like that before.
George Kittle just throwing linebackers and defenders to the ground with one arm.
Oh, man, look at that. Just taking them for a ride. And they just look at this. It's crazy. I remember seeing this. When I saw this live, you should have saw. I was jumping like I was back in college, dunking the ball, man.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up. Most people don't realize, most people who are watching the show for the first time, is that I used to coach you in college. We used to work out. And I'm bringing this up for a point. I'm not bringing this up. By the way, I do look like the Oregon Ducks offensive coordinator. I like this look for me. Thank you. Thank you, Jared. I need to, put my resume out there. Okay, so Jared, I used to coach you in college basketball, and we'd have guys who would meet. You and I would meet Monday through Thursday during the off season. We'd work out, we'd do drills, we'd run hills. Sometimes we'd have 2 or 3 guys. Sometimes it would be me and you. Now, again, this is not for you to compliment me. Would you say one of the things I taught you as a basketball player in life is be aggressive? If you miss 20 shots, think the 21st is going in. Always strive to be aggressive. Not only physically impose your will, but mentally beat down the opponent, right? Give me like a sentence or two on like what you learned from all those training sessions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. That's definitely true. I realistically, I didn't know how to work out before we met. You know, I was a natural athlete, yeah, and I had ability, whatever, but I didn't put it all together until I honestly met you. And then we would have our sessions. I would hate you. Don't get me wrong. You'd make me run the bleachers, all the hills, all that stuff. And then obviously in the weight room, I just dominated you in the weight room. So we wouldn't talk about that.
First of all, that's not even remotely true. I can still bench more than you, but that no one cares about that.
Crazy.
But here's what I'm saying, Jared. Here's what I'm saying. So I taught you all these things. You were a dominant player. I taught you how to be super aggressive. When you're running down the field court and you're posting someone up, hit the defender first, right? Okay.
Yeah,
so Jared, I was going through some old things. Can we talk about what you're doing here? Because there you are, number 15 in the background. Your hands are up. You're being boxed out, what appears to be a guard in the Elite Eight, and the guy's making a layup. What are you doing there?
Listen, that's out of context because I could have been – I don't know what's going on behind me. I could have been pushed in the back or something. Look at that.
You're holding your hands up, watching the guy. You look like the most submissive, weakest. This is not what I taught you.
Wow, you found the worst picture of my college career. Thanks, I appreciate it. Put it on blast.
The worst picture. That is literally the worst picture of your college career, is it not? I did my homework, Jared. I did my homework. Here, should I play this for you so you get back in a better mood? Good.
There we go.
That is literally you and Jay, who's been on this show. At least Jay's pushing the guy in the back. You're holding your hands up. Why?
Because I probably, if this was the Elite Eight, we were getting called for fouls every 15 seconds. So I had to let him know, and I wasn't, I'm not touching the guy. Because you know how that was. You were within 2 feet. It was a whistle real quick. So
listen, I think at halftime, and no one cares about this, we're literally having a conversation like I'm talking to you on the phone. We literally at halftime, it was 27 fouls. They had like 6. Our athletic director wanted to beat up the refs. Remember? We had to hold them back. Okay, Jared, no one cares about that. I just thought it was a funny picture. Okay, so you're starting an NBA franchise right now. And I think you and I don't know if we're going to agree on this. So you're starting an NBA franchise right now, okay? So who are you taking as your point guard? Are you taking Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic, who's averaging a triple-double, who's literally carrying his team they're not going to win, but he's carrying his team against the LA Clippers? Or are you taking Trae Young, or are you taking someone else?
Oh, I'm taking Doncic all day.
Okay, and why are you doing that?
I'm doing that because I feel like in 2 years he's going to be the best player in the NBA. Hey, look what he's doing already. Trae Young, he's good and all, but like what you can give me a 15-20 win team and have a guy who scores 25 points and 10 assists. What does that matter? You go to a guy who's on a playoff team who's beating what I think is the best team in basketball by himself, essentially, putting up 40-point triple doubles, hitting game-winning shots at 21. Give me that guy any day of the week. I'm on record to say he's the best 21-year-old I've ever seen play.
Okay,
that's how good I think this kid is.
I just want to show you some comments. Obviously, people don't like what I just did to you. Listen, it was a picture I found. I mean, listen, okay. You're not hurt by that, are you?
I'm not. I've had way better moments in life. It's okay.
So, Jared, here's why I'm taking Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks over Luka Doncic of the Dallas Cowboys. Okay.
Wow.
Trae Young last year, as a rookie, averaged 19 points a game, 8 assists. Now in his second year, 21 years old, Trae Young is averaging 29.6 points a game, 9.3 assists, 4.3 rebounds. It took Steph Curry. We all know Steph Curry of Golden State. It took him 7 years to average 30 points a game. He did it in his 7th year. And here's why I'm going to take Trae Young. Trae Young, if you watch him play, he's effortless. He's like Steph Curry. He can shoot from anywhere. He doesn't get hit. You watch Luka play. He holds the ball, he passes it, he goes back and gets it, and he has to get to the line 8 to 10 times a game. He's going to get beat up. Where Trae Young is like Steph Curry, he can score 45 points by just shooting threes, and he makes everyone better. He averages 9 assists a game. Luka's getting beat up, and he's going to continue to get beat up.
Ma, Trae Young is 175 pounds.
So is Steph Curry.
Okay, but it's a whole – I think they're different players. As much as you can make the comparison, with the shooting, and they can shoot from anywhere. I think Steph Curry is a much better, well-rounded player than Trae Young. Steph Curry, not the greatest defender in the world, but at least tries to play defense. Trae Young doesn't play defense.
What rookie plays defense? They're very – if you're a great offensive player, you don't rely on your defense.
He's not a rookie anymore, first off. Secondly, I just think I think he's a little light in the ass. Like, I want someone with some size. The NBA, to me, if you have a 6'8", 6'7" point guard, 225 pounds, that's 21. You think?
Okay, so this is where I compare it to.
He's not even built. He's not even ready yet. Like, Luka's doing this, and he's not even taking his body seriously, I think.
Either is Trae Young, but here's what I'll say. You want to take a Derrick Rose who gets beat up and has to get to the rim all the time. I want to take Steph Curry. That's the comparison I'm making.
Derrick Rose is 6'7", 225 pounds.
Derrick Rose is 6'3", listen, Luka's a big guy, but he's taking a pounding. He can't walk on his ankle. His knee. My point is, Young's game now, the way the league is set up, Trae Young is built to succeed like Steph Curry is.
What can't Luka do that
he's not a great shooter. He's not a great shooter. He shoots 32% from three.
He's not a great shooter. Okay, he's not as consistent. What's Trae Young shoot from three? Is he in the 40s?
He's in the 40s. Yeah, Trae Young. Not only that, Trae Young shoots 86%. Luka's a very good listen, I'm not saying that you're making it like I'm disrespecting Luka Doncic. I'm not.
I get it.
He's a great player. But if I'm starting a franchise and I need a point guard, I don't want a guy who's going to get beaten every night. I want a guy who's going to score effortlessly, like a Steph Curry, like a Klay Thompson, like a Trae Young. That's my point.
So this is what you want. You want bang, Trae Young with the three, and the Hawks are down 27 in the fourth quarter. You want that guy because they're never going to win. He's not.
First of all, they got Clint Capella. They're going to be good. The Hawks are going to be good over the next couple of years.
Oh, watch out, Clint Capella. Whoa, son.
Okay.
Is Clint Capella Hakeem Olajuwon?
No, he's not. Okay, you have your point. Okay, so the NBA bubble, I got to be honest, I look at this Clipper team, I don't see any chemistry with them. I think I really believe that Kawhi Leonard doesn't like these guys. Kawhi Leonard loved the Toronto Raptors. There are guys on this team that Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, they aren't my type of guys. Lou Williams went to a strip club. Montrezl Harrell wasn't even there. Like, these guys are not all about they say they want to win, but they're not all about the preparation to winning. So who do you like in the Western Conference Final, and who do you like in the Eastern Conference Final? And if you say the Toronto Raptors, I'm going to be very angry.
I won't say them just yet. I still think the Clippers will come out of the West. I still think that Kawhi is he's still the best player in the NBA, in my opinion. And even though you're right, I believe the chemistry issues. I mean, look at their team. They kind of have some misfits over there, I mean, they got some guys that I agree. I don't like. They're not my cup of tea. I don't like Harrell. I don't like Lou Williams that much. I cannot stand Morris. He's probably the most hated player for me in NBA history. After what he did to the Spurs, especially signing the contract, and then just after we traded Bertans, and then he
and then he just went, and then he goes to the Knicks. He took the Knicks over the Spurs.
That just shows you right there that he don't want to win.
Right.
All he wants to do is go out there and step on people's feet and push them and get in trouble, and that way he's a tough guy. So I think you're right with the chemistry issues, but their talent's still really, really damn good. And defensively, when they put it together, that's tough. That's an elite defensive unit, and that's built for the playoffs. And then you got a killer like Kawhi. So I still think they're going to come out of the West. East, I think the East is still a little more open. I predict. I thought the Celtics would be.
Me too. But listen, losing Gordon Hayward's huge. 17-6-4, Jared. That's the fourth option on that team.
Yeah, that's big, man. That's a big loss. So I don't know, man. I really think the Raptors have a great chance to come out because I still don't believe in the Bucks. I just don't. I can't believe in the Bucks. I think they're a player away still. So I would not be surprised if the Raptors made it. Whoever makes it is getting absolutely smacked by the West either way, so it doesn't matter. Me and you could throw a team out there and play. It's going to be the same result.
Jared, you know this from being a player, and despite that picture I showed you, you were a dominant player. You can't respect guys who you can like them, but you can't respect guys who don't put the work. People used to tell me all the time, why is Jared your boy? I'm like, why is Jared my boy? Because while you're playing video games, he's at the gym with me. He's shooting shots. You're telling me that Kawhi Leonard, who's all about winning, has respect for Lou Williams, who's like, I'm going to go to a strip club? Come on, man.
No, you're probably right. And you can see it. You can see the displeasure on his face when he look. There's even a couple of memes when these guys go to like slap him five, and he just like looks away from him or just like go ahead,
it's like he doesn't like them. It's like he liked the Raptors. He liked the Raptors, but it's almost like he doesn't like them.
A couple of great organizations. Yeah, I mean those are some great organizations he came from, so he learned the right way, and that's not the right way. The things these guys are doing sometimes.
Okay, we'll end with this before we talk about the 49ers. You know, I watched this Laker team, and they're really a throwback team. They're winning with defense. Jared, when they have LeBron at the point, okay, let's say Danny Green, they have Kuzma, they have Dwight Howard and Anthony Davis. Everyone's over 6'7". They may be the longest team in the history. Now, sometimes they'll take out Green and they'll put in Alex Caruso, who's still 6'3" and super athletic. How do you score on these guys in the fourth quarter when everyone is over 6'6"?
Yeah, I mean they have length. You're right, but that doesn't just because you're long doesn't mean you're a great defender. I mean, I don't think
they were number two in the league. They were number two in the league.
Who was one?
Milwaukee, and then it was Milwaukee, I think Lakers and Toronto, top three.
Yeah, I figured Toronto. I knew Toronto would be up there because I watched them as well. Listen, they're a good defensive team. Don't get me wrong, but you that big lineup. I mean, you can't really throw that out there against certain lineups against certain teams and expect success because you're just going to get. I mean, you're going to get rained on. That's it. You know, you can't go back to 1988 and have 3 7-footers out there and 2 6'8".
But the difference is, I think the difference is Anthony Davis. There's no one in the West who can guard him. There's no one. Kawhi can't guard. He's just too long. There's no one who. He's soft, but he's a very good jump shooter. And the point I was trying to make going along with Lou Williams, and we can bring this back to and then we'll start the football conversation. We can bring this back to the Milwaukee Bucks. Chris Middleton, the number 2 option, who averaged 13 points a game in the first round against a crappy Orlando team, he took 4 months off. How can Giannis, who's scoring 35, 15, and 6, respect Chris Middleton for taking 4 months off when you were in quarantine?
I sure as hell wouldn't. I wouldn't. I'd be very upset with that. That's another reason why I think that I would be very surprised if they ended up winning because if they do, then give this dude all the MVPs because I just don't think there's enough around.
Again, he's averaging 35, 15, and 6. All right, let's move to NFL talk. Look, Jared, you may not know this about me, but I'm a real estate mogul. I own properties all over the world. And one of the things I learned is don't pay $3 million for a house that's worth $1 million. So you're telling me that George Kittle right here signed a 5-year, $75 million when the average NFL tight end is making 7, 6. The market does not demand the 49ers to pay $75 million to this guy. They overpaid for him.
I completely disagree. And you just said it right there. The average NFL tight end. He's the best NFL tight end. That's not even close. What he does on both sides for the run game and the pass game, you probably haven't seen since Gronk. And I think personally he does even better than Gronk will ever do it. He's more athletic and he's more explosive. And I think he's, if not a better blocker, he's at least there. So I think the reason why you didn't see tight ends getting paid like that, I'll mention it, is because of Gronk. because the Patriots were very smart and got ahead of him for those years. They signed him very early. I don't know if you remember. And he locked into his contract, and so other teams would go, hey, I want to get more as a tight end. No, you're not getting $9 million a year. The Gronk's only making that. So I think they strangled.
So you're saying they didn't overpay for him? They could have given him $12 million.
That wouldn't have worked. That wouldn't have worked. You're telling me he's $2 million better than Austin Hooper? He's $2 million better than Hunter Henry? Come on,
Hunter Henry's pretty good.
I think we got a deal personally. He's pretty good, but he ain't George Kittle.
Wait, you tell me Kittle's they should have paid him more? He's a tight end. The market doesn't demand it.
He's not your average tight end. What, does he just sit there and block? Does he sit there? He does so much. He's the whole entire. I think he's our MVP. He's our most important player, and you see it when he doesn't play. It's a big difference versus when he does. Physically,
so
emotionally,
you're saying the money they did not overspend.
No, I told you that. Remember, I even said I would pay this guy between 15 and 16 million. If we can pay him 15 and 16 million, I think it's a good deal. We got a great money guy. This guy Parag, he's an awesome money guy. So the deal is actually friendly and team friendly as well. We don't take any cap hits until 2022, I believe. So the way we spaced it out, it works for him and it works for us. He gets to feed his family as much as he wants with the guaranteed money. But we don't take monstrous cap hits, especially this year. So that still leaves us some availability to get a big free agent if we get an injury. And, God knows with 49ers and injuries, that's almost.
Well, that's my next question, Jared. You text me 5 times a day, and my response to you is either they need to get a better strength and conditioning coach. What the hell? Talk to the fans who don't follow the 49ers like you do about the massive injuries. I don't want to bring it up because I knew I was going to bring it up with you, but same thing when the Cleveland Browns. They've had a ton of injuries.
Yeah. So, and that's what we talked about. There's a few teams that I feel like they're just snake bitten. The Eagles, the 49ers, the Browns. It's always the same teams, I feel, who are getting players hurt. And we're just, we've lost. I can't even count how many receivers already. I think we're literally picking up receivers from Food Town right now to go play, just to have a full practice. It's crazy. And when you lose, you know how big I was on Hurd, man. That one really hurt me a lot. I thought that this kid was going to have a monster year. I think that he could have had 55, 60 catches, 8 touchdowns, and just, had such versatility for our offense, 6'5", 235. And it's just kind of, that really hurt a lot. We got the 7th round pick out of Tennessee. Hopefully he can kind of fill the void a little bit. He's similar, but he's just not as explosive. Good thing we do have depth, but it is getting a little frustrating watching player after player just get hurt. I mean, last practice, Bosa, Kittle, Ford, Juszczyk, Debo, like all these guys. That's like 7 starters not playing. That's crazy.
It's like the entire New England defense, except they opted out, where you guys are showing up and getting hurt. All right, so the $1,000 question, Earl Thomas, we mentioned it with Brad. Earl Thomas, the safety from Seattle, then he went to the Ravens. Do you want the 49ers to sign him? You guys need a safety. I thought you were going to get Jamal Adams. He went to your second favorite team, the Seattle Seahawks. So what are we doing here?
First of all, don't make me throw up by saying that. Seattle, ugh. Secondly, our safeties are pretty damn good. But the only thing with our safeties, they do have some injury history, of course, like everybody else. But Jimmy Ward, I mean, dude's been good when he's been on the field, but he's only had this last season was his first full season in his 5-6 year career. So Tart, also awesome players. If you look at, they're safe in what they do. So in terms of they don't make plays though, and you're right. Earl Thomas is a pipe maker. These guys, they keep
interceptions, stuff.
Jared,
they
don't turn the ball over.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I have to just post this because I wanted to ask you this question and I found it. Why are you signing Kevin White? You say the 49ers are safe. This guy he was a 7th. He was the first pick in 2015, the 7th overall pick by the Bears. Yeah. He's had 25 catches. Why are you signing this guy? 25 catches in 3 years.
Why not? We don't have any. I'm telling you, everybody's hurt. So why not give him a look? It's not like we signed the guy to a $25 million contract and say, here you go, here's a guarantee for you. No, we're just seeing, we're taking a look at things. If there's anybody who's going to get something out of somebody on the offensive side of the ball, it's going to be Shanahan. This guy knows he can look at somebody and turn him into a great player. and see if they still have something left in the tank. He'll scheme them open if he has to. But the guy has some pretty good size. I mean, he has some athletic ability. Obviously, the injury history wasn't great, but I don't mind taking a chance on him. Like, it's not like you're going to pay him $1 billion, so it's fine.
Rico loved your response. Rico loved your response when you said, "Why not?"
Why not? Exactly.
Why not?
You're not giving him the house. Why wouldn't you take him?
Okay, so Jared, answer this question first, then we'll have Rico answer. George brings up a good point. Will the 49ers have a Super Bowl hangover? Shanahan will have to make adjustments in his offensive scheme. We're going to find out how good of a coach he is. Jared talks about Shanahan like he's the greatest coach in the history of the world. So what's your take, Jared?
Well, I think that George is obviously, what's he, a Rams fan or something?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes.
Well, that's written like a Rams fan. Of course he would say that. He wishes McVay was Shanahan, so sorry for that, poor George. Shanahan's going to be just fine. People don't realize we got to the Super Bowl last year, and we had so many people missing, and we still were within a couple minutes of winning the Super Bowl. If it wasn't for 15 holding penalties that never got called, but we don't talk about that. Now we're loaded. We are reloaded. I don't think you understand what we have. We have Trent Taylor coming back. The guy he was supposed to be our best receiver last year. Got him coming back. 70 catches right there. Slot. Unstoppable. Jordan Reed looks unbelievable. I don't know if you've heard him and what he's looking like in training camp. Him and Kittle on the outside are going to be unstoppable. This offense is going to average 35 points a game.
Wow.
It's 35 easy. I'm telling you, it's going to be a top 3 offense.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this question, Jared, and then Rico, I'm going to ask you a question about fantasy football because I'm doing a league with Jared. And you said something on Titletown Brawl this week that I thought was the most insane thing anyone's ever said about fantasy football, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, Jimmy G's not a top 10 quarterback, but can I expect this from him? 3,500 yards, 66 completion percentage, and 38 touchdown passes.
38 touchdown passes, no.
He's making $27 million a year. They're paying him like he's the franchise quarterback. That's what I want my franchise quarterback to do.
38. How many guys threw 38 touchdown passes last year, Mont?
I don't have that on me, but let me explain something. What are you talking about?
You can't expect a guy to throw 38 touchdown passes.
Yes, I do. And here's why. Here's why.
We're going to run heavy. You run the ball more than anybody in the NFL. You can't expect it. That would be if he throws 38 touchdown passes, we're going 16-0, and we've won every game 55-10. Because
here's what I want.
I'll take the over on that. I think he's going to have a good percentile.
Yeah, listen.
He'll throw 4,000 yards.
You guys are way too run heavy. You got a solid running back committee, and I think Shanahan got shafted for Coach of the Year last year. He should have won that hands down. Totally got you.
Rico.
Yeah. I've been saying that. I've been screaming that since mid-season last year that he should win it.
I appreciate it. That's right. That's a man who knows what he's talking about right there.
Because it's the truth. How do you go? You guys had the second round in the draft that year, and you went to the Super Bowl the next.
Correct.
Okay. They're paying him $27 million, dude. For years, crazy. I've been hearing he's better than Tom Brady. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, it's not an off year. It's not a stretch to say they could throw 35, 40 touchdown passes. So I'm saying this guy, maybe 38 is a little high. I want 36 touchdown passes. I want 3,800 yards. I want 66 completion percentage. How is that not doable? If Jameis Winston can throw 36 touchdown passes last year and he had the most interceptions in the league, why can't Jimmy Garoppolo?
Well, easy attempts. Jameis Winston also led the NFL in attempts. So if you attempt more, you're obviously going to create more numbers. That's just common sense. Yeah. Maybe your headset's too tight and you don't know how to do the math. But if you're running the ball,
even Roethlisberger, when he threw for 5,000 yards 2 years ago, he had the most.
Only 5,000 yards 2 years ago, Rico? Well, only 5,000 yards?
Well, only. I mean, after this year, we'll call that an only. Hopefully, he'll throw for 5,600 this year.
All right. I'm obviously losing this argument, so I'm going to flip the script here. First of all, Rico said something on Titletown Brawl that I thought he did a tremendous job. But I literally wanted to scream through my phone as I was listening to this. Rico said, no matter what, in your fantasy football draft, your first 3 out of 4 picks have got to be running backs. So that means if Melvin Gordon is available and I have someone like CeeDee Lamb or Amari Cooper, no, I got to do it because I have to take 3 running backs in my first 4 rounds. That is insanity.
I still stick to it.
I don't completely disagree if it's the right running backs. I don't think you just take any 3 running backs, but if you got the right guy who you think it might be like, hey, listen, if I can get this guy at this value, why not do it? Because running backs still they still turn.
He said take in your first 4 picks, you got to take 3 running backs. That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to tell you. The only disagreement he said, he goes, if Michael Thomas is available, you take him.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you have someone who's like a mega can't miss guy, go ahead, Rico.
Go ahead, Jared. No, Jared, go finish, and then I'll have Rico go.
What I'm saying is I think people keep missing is the fact is the wide receiver pool is 10 times bigger than the running back pool of who to pick. Yeah. There's a point where after a certain number of running backs, after the 3rd round, that's it. Whoever you pick up at a running back after the 3rd round, you're just praying. Every week you're going on your knees and you're praying. That's what I'm saying. True. And I'm saying that you could pick up an Amari Cooper in the 4th or 5th round. That's a number 1 wide receiver on a throwing team, even though they have Ezekiel Elliott. Amari Cooper being the number 1 wide receiver for the Cowboys, that's almost any other year that's a super value pick. Cut to this year, you got Stephon Diggs, who a team just gave up the house for. You could pick him up in the 5th round. So when I say running backs, and you got to remember, running backs come and go; they get hurt. I still stick to it. Every draft has got variables to it.
I was going to say too, and a lot of teams are doing running back by committee now too. Like they're adopting that San Francisco approach where you don't have the bell cow guys as much as you used to back 5-10 years ago, where you're getting 400 carries.
You're going to say the bell cow approach too? What?
No. He said the whatchamacallit approach, the committee approach, the San Francisco committee approach, because I could have sworn Belichick has been doing it for the last 20 years.
I got to rep my team, man.
I hear you.
All right, Jared.
Come on.
Jared, real quick, give us a record for the 49ers this year.
I still think they're going to be in that 11-5 range. I think that's realistic. Our schedule's tough, obviously, and you don't know what's going on with the COVID situation, and we're in a hot spot in Cali, and injuries. But I think we have a great coaching staff, and we're really deep this year. I think we're a lot more deep than we were last year. So I think 11-5 is definitely a realistic number for us. I still think we win the division.
You still think they win the division? All right, Rico, you posted something about high school last week. So I'm gonna leave Jared. There's Jared, number 15, doing absolutely nothing on defense. I coached Jared. I did not teach him this. His hands are up in I surrender position. So I don't know what the hell that was. Jared was a monster.
It looks like he's dancing. It looks like he's dancing. It looks like
I'm doing the nay or something.
All right, Jared, thanks so much. Love having you on. Listen, follow Jared. He's just starting Twitter. We're trying to help him out here at Badman Baseballs, which is the worst Twitter name I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, Monte JP231. What are you, a damn robot? Don't make fun of my Twitter name.
Jared's killing me today. All right, Jared, thanks. Jared is absolutely killing me today. So, Rico, I have a couple of things we got to get to, and we're going to go to 12:40. The goal of the show is to do 11 to 12:30, and we'll start that during the football season. But first, do I look like the offensive coordinator of the Oregon Ducks right here? If I'm holding my thing and I'm calling down the play with all my gear and my headset, I think I do. It's a good look for me.
You look like somebody who works on the sideline for the Ducks. I don't know what the offensive coordinator looks like, but apparently you're saying he's a good-looking gentleman.
I don't know how attractive he is, Rico, but I'm all decked out in my Duck gear. I'm all decked out, so I'm very happy. I always feel comfortable when I wear Oregon Duck gear.
Is there a special reason? I've listened. Is there a reason you have your shirt on, your sweater on today, or a sweatshirt?
No, just supporting the Ducks. I'm going to miss the Pac-12 is not playing college football, and I spend my Saturdays watching college football. But I spent my actual Saturday, and I'm glad you brought this up. So, Rico, I found a new show that we could watch together. I found a new show that we could be obsessed with. Now, we all know, if you followed Rico's career, that the Orville with Seth MacFarlane, who is the writer, creator of Family Guy and American Dad, is the worst show in the history of television, is it not, Rico?
I hate watching. They get my Nielsen view purely because I cannot believe it's on the air, and it's shocking.
So there's so many things wrong with the Orville as we see it here. There's so many things wrong with it. First of all, they're out in space, and obviously there's some sort of government controlled spacecraft. There's a bartender. Like, how does that work in the military budget that we need a bartender on a spaceship? Then they had an episode where the boxing has been outlawed for hundreds of years, but they have a boxing ring on the spaceship. If it's been outlawed for years, then the thing with the bartender in the Orville is you can walk through any part of the ship and you press a button and you just say, one time she goes, "I'll take a vodka tonic." So you could grab a drink anywhere. What do they need a bartender for?
They do have little clear flaws like that. But one of my favorite is when they go to like a planet and there's some clear moral issue, they just leave and they're just like, well, that's their planet. Unlike like in Star Trek where they're like, we need to help and change them. They don't see the error of their ways. They're just like, well, they circumcise or whatever they do. I didn't want to get into what they do on other planets, but it's pretty, even the storytelling is pretty terrible.
No, it's terrible. And this is a great comment. Look at this, Rico.
Wow. See, very funny. Very funny.
So I found something we can watch, and I wrote an article yesterday. I'm watching NBA basketball. I rode my bike. I worked out. I went food shopping, prepped for this show.
Everything I didn't do. Go ahead. If I didn't say my day, I'd say everything I did.
love this show. I love it on Netflix. Rico, it is so bad. It's so good. First of all, the writing's great. The acting's great and bad all in one. They use the same people. But here's the worst part about it. Okay, so they use Johnny, the actor who was in it. They use Daniel LaRusso, Ralph Macchio, the actor who's in it. When they go back to flashbacks of Johnny, the leader of now the Cobra Kai, they show him when he was like 13 and 14. He looks totally different than the Johnny who was 15 and 16. So why do they need to do the flashback? It's not even remotely the same. It doesn't even look good. But Rico, I watched 10 episodes yesterday. They're 22 minutes long.
Now, is this the show? This is on Netflix, and it came from YouTube, right?
Yeah, and it went to YouTube, Hulu, and then Netflix, which we're going to do. We're going to start off on YouTube, then we're going to go to Hulu, and then we're going to be on Netflix soon.
I would love to have that jump. I just want to jump right to Netflix because that's where the money is, it seems like. Netflix
that is Rico, promise me you're going to watch this. Promise me.
I already, when I saw it, you posted up the trailer, I saw it, and I loved the way LaRusso he's a car dealer.
He's the worst. He's the most. Well, what I don't understand about Ralph Macchio is he's done now 3 movies as the Karate Kid, and he's now a adult, and he still has the same body, like a scrawny fat kid. Like, you figure you would work out once in your life for the role.
Well, you think being in Hollywood that he would have caught on to the vibe of every person who's in front of the camera has the insecurity of like, I got to look better. I got to stay younger. I mean, I met people 55 years old who look 10 years younger than me, and it's just they're on it. People already have vegan. They go crazy. They do everything.
Rico,
he's like, I'm Daniel LaRusso. I do whatever I want.
He's so skinny, but yet he's got the body of an eggplant. Like, if you see an eggplant, that's him. But he's skinny, so it doesn't make any sense. Okay. All right, Rico, so I have my big money draft tonight. We have a bunch of NFL questions for you. Okay, so let's talk quarterback. More touchdown passes in the NFC South. Are we going with Tom Brady? Are we going with Drew Brees? Are we going with Matt Ryan? Teddy Bridgewater, I think, is going to have a very good year in Carolina, but I don't think he's going to put up the numbers. I'm saying Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons is going to have the most touchdown passes.
See, I was going to go with Tom Brady because I feel like Tom Brady he has a bigger cast, and then you have guys like Drew Brees who have Kamara who he can catch the ball, but he's going to run in a bunch of touchdowns this year. So he will take away from Drew Brees' touchdowns. And I like Tom Brady a lot in this just because he's got to prove himself. and he's a short passer. If I was putting money, I'd put money on.
So you're going to say Tom Brady?
Yeah. I was going to go into Teddy Bridgewater. Why? I don't think him, but Matt Ryan, he slings it. He slings it all day. But he just, the Atlanta has just never been the same team since, that Super Bowl collapse.
Yes. So Rico, we'll get to more questions. So 80s movie reference. You didn't see the opening, but I went to a dinner party, and I don't go to dinner parties anymore, Rico, because there's no way to escape. You have to engage in conversation.
I did see the opening, so go ahead.
So you saw the Grease reference, right?
Yes, I saw that, and I thought that was hilarious that you did.
So Rico,
the Greek yogurt won't carry that country.
So Rico, I'm going to ask you this question, and again, keep it clean. This is a family show. What's the greatest compliment, again, non-sex or nothing like that a woman has ever given you that you dated?
The greatest compliment. Your friends seem to love you. That's the greatest compliment? It's a great compliment. Your friends seem to love you. Your friend, when a girl's out on a date with you and she tells you that the people that she knows admire you and trust you, that's a pretty great compliment.
Okay. The greatest
you told me to not go sexual, so it is a family show. So
it's a family show. The greatest compliment I ever got from a woman is that she said I made her feel like she's in high school again. And I didn't realize that I thought it was a compliment because people want to feel young. But she was a tutor in high school, and because I read at a 4th grade level, she kind of always had to tutor me. So it wasn't really a compliment, Rico.
No. I love how we can mistake it a compliment because that's me and you. Somebody can say anything to us, and we'll just take it that they're talking good about us. For all I know, she was probably telling me that my friends hate me or something and was being sarcastic.
Yeah, so she's like, you make me feel like I'm in high school. And then like a couple of weeks later, I was like, that was a really good comment. She goes, yeah, because I have to explain everything to you like when I used to tutor kids. I was an adult, Rico. That's all I got to tell you. Okay.
Last week.
No, Rico, I'm like, since quarantine, I said this, I'm like the 40-year-old virgin part 2. I could write a whole screenplay on it. I'm not going out in this. I'm not going out with this.
Thank God, Melissa. Jeez, let's put another 5 years on our relationship. God, I'm scared for the next pandemic. I don't want to be left alone in the house.
Okay.
More rope.
Okay, Rico. So I'm going to give you 2 win totals in the NFL that I think are an absolute joke. And we always say Vegas knows what they're doing, right? That's why they're Vegas. They make money. They have the Carolina Panthers winning 5.5 games. I'm taking Carolina to win at least 7 games. Now, in the same token, Carolina Panthers, an offensive coach, they drafted 7 defensive players, Teddy Bridgewater, Christian McCaffrey. They have the Bengals at 5.5. Is that ridiculous? Give me 2 teams that Vegas say are going to go over or under that you totally disagree with.
Actually, that one me and Levi, for fun, this is no joke, for fun. I'm not even kidding. We write what we think the records are going to be this year. Just we were sitting around and we were like, let's just go through it and see what records will be. And
did you wait a time out? Did you say that you did that for fun?
Yes, we just sat around and we started talking about what the over-unders are and who we think what the records will be this year and what will be at the end of the season.
Okay, but you do have your partner in Melissa and a 2-year-old son, right? I mean, you're not living in your basement doing these things.
No. We do. They do take a nap for like an hour and a half a day, and I go run in the other room like a little girl with my phone and my notebook, and we start because yesterday we prepared our fantasy draft. We've already bought in our teams, and they're set up for next week. We're really excited. Last night we were calling each other like 2 little girls. We were like, "You ready? Are you ready? We need to practice. We need to prep." We've been prepping since last year. And
Rico, I don't know why you say 2 little girls, because I know a lot of young women who are much more are tougher than you. They are smarter than you. So, like, I don't know what you're saying. 2 little, like, you might want to say 2 little boys, because when I look at you, you're a man, but deep down inside, I know you're a little boy who just wants a hug every once in a while.
Well, when I say 2 little girls, what I think in my head is when you were a little girl and you saw Ralph Macchio for the first time, you got all excited.
Rico, when I saw him on Saturday, I got all excited.
I know. People should be friends with you on Facebook. They post that they see how much you post about it. That it was incredible that you posted about it 3-4 times a day in that one day.
I did
bike riding pictures, which
I did.
I did. It makes me feel like I'm lazy being your friend on Facebook.
Rico, so you have to tell me, you did this list. What are the 2 teams that you think Vegas is way off on?
I think the 49ers are going to be over. I think they're way over on I think the 49ers are going to have a 12-4 season. I wish I would have been able to say that to Jared. They look good. I think their wide receivers are going to come through. They're going to be a bunch of no names on that team. Nobody that I would pick up on fantasy, but they spread the ball. Shanahan, even when he has.
Okay, so you're saying the 49ers over 11 wins is an easy bet.
I like them over 11 wins. I think that everybody is waiting for the Super Bowl hangover. I don't think it's going to happen with them. I think he's too good of a coach to let something like that happen. And he's a plug and play coach. If he's got a running back doing good, when I say plug and play, that means if he puts somebody in and they're doing good, they're not coming out.
Right. Which is why fantasy football is a joke, because you never know but other than Kittle's, and sometimes they'll just have Kittle's blocked for 3 quarters.
Well, then there you go. You see, San Francisco has 3 good running backs. But if one of them is doing better, he's not taking him out of the game. So the other 2 running backs are just, again, guys that you'll just get no points from. It's all about consistency in fantasy football, and you want to stay.
George really hates the 49ers.
10-6 at best. Well, I don't know.
At best. And listen, Jared doesn't
sweep of the Rams. I'll give you that.
Listen, Jared doesn't think the Kansas City Chiefs are making the playoffs. I didn't get to that part, just so you know. Okay. Oh. So you have the 49ers, and what's the other over-under in football?
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
So you have the 49ers who you think are going to win. Vegas has them winning 11 games. You have them winning more than that.
Yes, over.
Okay, and what's another one you have on your list?
I actually have Miami with the over.
How many? What was the over-under then? 6.5?
No, it was
7.5.
No, Miami Dolphins was 5.5.
5. That's what Vegas has Miami at?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's over. Definitely over.
That's over. I like that one as an over. Fitzpatrick left. His family member passed away, so Tua is getting a lot more work than expected. But he's not going to lose the starting job. He's clearly a much better quarterback in camp, and so it's just he wins. He can win games.
Listen,
it's
Rico,
magic. They don't call it Fitzmagic for nothing. He'll get 3-4 wins right off the bat.
You said it on Titletown Brawl, and I agreed with you that why are they drafting Jordan Love? And we're seeing now one of the Green Bay Packers said Jordan Love is not gonna go down on the depth chart because he's already the lowest he could be. They're saying that this guy can't throw. He doesn't read defenses. They're saying every throw he makes is a finesse throw. They are like, this guy's terrible.
Well, let me tell you, if he doesn't get better in the next 3 years, too bad there's not an owner to chop the head, even though their owner is owned by the people of the city, own the team. There's no one particular owner like a Jerry Jones who could just start firing people for terrible draft picks. I mean, on the show with the guys, I figured bringing that up was was brought up 100 times, but I found myself in a 3-way argument about a 2-sided situation. I didn't know what was happening there. I was like, this should have been this. I didn't realize how much I know about a team I don't care about when I got on that show.
It's funny, Rico, you were like a marriage counselor. Those guys do a great job. They disagree so much, but it's definitely entertaining.
They love you.
I'll stop for the compliment. There, you.
Yeah. They do. They kept talking about you, and I'm like, yeah, I know. We got it. We already gave him a shout out. Let's move forward. I know. I owe him everything. Let's go. I got it. Rico's trying to change the subject, and I'll use one of his favorite reference. Just when I thought I was out talking about Monte, I go on a different show. They pull me back in. It's funny. What I've learned on the show that doesn't work great in the real world is I have no. What did Joe say about the? I have no data.
Oh no, I have no facts to back me up, but you're wrong.
That's it. I say I have no facts, but you're wrong.
You're wrong. Listen, I want Melissa, your partner, to say that anytime you guys get into an argument. I want to say Rico. I want her to say Rico.
Partner, my wife. If I partner, jeez, I get slapped in the back of the head if I said something like that.
Listen, it's your partner, your best friend. You don't need labels here. I may call you your best friend next day. I may call you your lover. Why do we have to label people?
Lover, whoa. We have a kid that left 2.5 years ago.
All right, let's move on. So I have my fantasy football draft, and a lot of people don't care about fantasy football, but if you watch sports shows, it's one of the most popular subjects. And I'm going to try to break this down so even the casual fan can understand this. Do I take a number 2 wide receiver, let's say a Jarvis Landry, over a number 1 tight end? Jarvis Landry plays for the Cleveland Browns. We just had Brad Ward on. Or do I take a number 1 tight end like Zach Ertz if there's a competition between the two? A number 2 wide receiver like Jarvis Landry is going to get you 85 catches, or actually, he had 94 in his first 6 years, or Zach Ertz, who got you 86 catches per season over the last 5 years. Who are you taking?
Well, it depends on where I am at wide receiver, because you want a better wide receiver, because tight end pool, there's a line. There's always a line of where the quality drops off, but Zach Ertz is going a lot later than a Jarvis Landry. So you may not be in that type of position of who to take, but I would take Jarvis Landry because, like you said, over the last 5 years, he's had over 85 catches. That's great.
Yeah, no, he's great.
It's always about consistency. Now, Zach Ertz, he gets hurt. George Kittle, he's great, but George Kittle is coming way too high. He's too expensive in a sense. And when I say too expensive, I mean there's a price point to each player. And to spend that type of money on a tight end, I'm just letting that people know what we're talking about who don't know. To spend that type of money on somebody who you can get a better value, instead of buying the Rolls Royce, you can get a nice Mercedes that's just as, the quality is just as well, just as good.
No, I totally get what you're saying. Listen, Rico, who do you take here? Here's the picture. Are you taking Devontae Adams? Or are you taking from Green Bay? Or are you taking the Chargers' Keenan Allen?
I watched Hard Knocks the other day, and Keenan Allen's looking great. I love Devontae Adams. I mean, he's going off way higher on the board. So if the clock was ticking, I would take Devontae Adams. But Anthony Lynn the other day was saying Keenan Allen, like he was saying it under his breath, and it was hilarious. He's like, Keenan Allen blocks. He blocks.
So regarding fantasy, who are you going to take?
Devontae Adams, I'll take over Keenan Allen.
You take, okay. And Rico, what team has the most sacks in your division, the AFC North? Are we going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers with TJ Watt and their defense? Are we taking the Ravens, who are going to be much improved defensively? Or, like we said with the Cleveland Browns, who have a great front four, who's going to lead that division in sacks?
Well, I think when it comes to sacks, that's Pittsburgh, and I'm being very critical of Pittsburgh this year. So for me to say the Ravens, it would be just purely to go against Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh will, with Bud Dupree and T.J. Watt and Fitzpatrick coming off the end, and Joe Hayden, and just they got a great cast over there. And I think Pittsburgh's defense is going to hold up. And sack wise, I think it goes to Pittsburgh easy.
Okay, 2 more quick questions, then we'll get to your rant. Give us 2 sleepers at running back, guys you could get in later rounds, and 2 sleepers at wide receiver. Give us, the names and the teams they're on so fans can watch for them.
Well, I think Melvin Gordon in Denver, he's going to be, when I say a sleeper, people think some people love him and think he's a higher pick than he should be. I like him because you're getting him at the right price. And also Patrick Lindsey, who is on Denver. That's what I was going to say. You don't want to split. You don't want to have a running back by committee in fantasy football, right? Yeah, no, you don't want to. You do not want to have a running back by committee. But that's why you're going to get a value for him is later on. And what you're hoping for is that he doesn't want that Patrick Lindsey does what he was doing towards the end of last year, which was not much. That's why they went out and they got another running back. That's why. John Elway, the general manager for Denver, went out and got another running back. And also a value pick, but again, he's going high, is DJ from oh my God, I can't remember, David Johnson. He just got traded from.
The running back. Okay, yeah.
Running back.
But wait. So are you saying that Melvin Gordon? You're saying that Melvin Gordon should get the bulk of the carries in Denver? That's what I'm a little confused about.
Yes.
Okay.
Not only do I think he is, I think he's going to, and I think Darryl Johnson also. I think when they traded him to Houston, I think people didn't realize like he's still got a lot of value. He's had a few tough years of being hurt, and he got hurt. And the year before that, 2 years ago, he was a beast. He got hurt.
He has elite speed, very fast.
Yeah, and then last he just wasn't used right. You know, you can have when and I use a lot of people from Pittsburgh as an example, just because I know the team so well. But Minkah Fitzpatrick, when he was on Miami before they got traded, they were using him out of his position, so much so that even his own mother said, "Why don't you just play him where he's supposed to play?" And Pittsburgh got him and put him in his position at where he plays, and he did great. If you could be the greatest player in the world, you could be, and if you're put in the wrong situation, you're not going to be. You know, Todd Gurley last year, he was never used in the right situations, and even though he didn't look like he had much gas in him, he knew it. When you're a player and you know you're not being used, if you're a guard,
you pack it in. No, you definitely pack it in. Listen, That's why the Knicks, the second half of the year, players are coming up with hamstring, groin pulls. It's not because they're really injured; it's just they went out partying because they gave up on the season. All right, give us two quick wide receivers who are sleepers.
Well, Stephon Diggs, I think he's going to be a beast. He's going really late
from the Buffalo Bills, who was traded from Minnesota. Yes.
And this one is going to get a lot of controversy, but I think A.J. Green is going to have a good year, or Tyler Boyd. It's one of those two, but I think it's A.J. Green because I've watched him enough. He is a beast. He has what my crux of, like, something happened. He got a little tweak of his leg, which could possibly be a hamstring, which I have a big thing about players with hamstrings. So with that being said, AJ Green is a man amongst boys. He's a beast. So
did you just say my crux in a sentence? How long have you been waiting to use that on this show?
Ever since I watched Harry Potter.
All right, Rico, last question. More touchdown passes this year, Baker Mayfield or Lamar Jackson?
The Ravens have been talking about Lamar throwing more, but that's just like when Mike Tomlin says he's going to use more running backs and he just does one running back. You can't make. I'd say Baker Mayfield easier. I think that's an easy one. I would. Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods are sleeper picks.
Cooper Kupp is a very, very good late round pick. Cooper Kupp should get about.
He's a great late round pick because that's his whatchamacallit, his escape valve. That's
So back to the question here: Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, who takes it? More touchdown passes.
Baker Mayfield.
Wow. Yeah. Really?
Because Baker Mayfield will be throwing the ball to where in the positions of throwing, Lamar will run it. There'll be more opportunity for Lamar to run the ball himself than throw it into the end zone compared, when they're on the 7-yard line. Who's going to call his own number to run into the end zone?
So, Rico, before we get to your rant, can you show people the paper that you and Eli, that you did on the phone with Eli for fun? Wow.
It's a mess. There's actually multiple pages of notes of things that we just shoot for football. You're not the only person who takes notes. I just take notes just in case you're going to ask me questions.
Rico, so you use that for your fantasy draft. How many fantasy drafts are you in? When do they start?
Well, we're in 4. So we're actually in 5 of them, but one of them is with people we know that I know he doesn't know. But our first draft is on Labor Day. We try to do our draft as close as possible to the start of the season because there's still a possibility of players getting hurt at this point.
And they're all money leagues, correct?
Yes, they're all money leagues, but 4 of them are big money leagues that we're really, we hold our breath. As the draft is happening, we get butterflies of who's coming. Yeah, it's –
okay. All right, I have my big money draft tonight. I came in 3rd last year, so hopefully I could do better. I want a little bit of money. So, Rico, it's that time that everyone loves. Rico's rant. Here you see Uncle Rico from the movie Napoleon Dynamite. Rico, the floor is yours.
All right, here we go. The thing that's been bothering me, like, it's hard for me to even have a conversation with certain people who think that sports are not going to finish their seasons, like basketball or baseball, or even when somebody talks to me about football may not happen or start, I literally don't even know what to say. I feel like I'm talking to a Trumper. That's how crazy that sounds to me. And it's not that I am being so optimistic about it. It's the writings on the wall. If you just watch it in baseball, people are getting COVID all over the place. They're not stopping. They're just playing. They're going through it. The players are getting sick, and baseball is just postponing some games and moving forward. Basketball has been in this bubble. Hockey, same thing. Like, they're happening. So whenever somebody starts telling me that, why are you buying into your fantasy league, or I don't think it's starting, and I have to sit there and talk them into it and explain and show them the writing on the wall, does nothing but drive me crazy. And then I feel like even more, because most likely those people don't play fantasy. So I feel like I have more at this point of the year. I don't have much to say to anybody unless it's fantasy related. And I hate to say it, I have a 2-year-old kid. If somebody's talking to me about their kid, I'd be like, are you teaching your kid about football? Are you putting him in front of the screen? We don't believe in screen time too much here, but when it comes to football, my son will be watching football with me, whether he cares about it or not. Most likely he won't. Anyway, that's my rant. I don't know where I'm swinging off to, but
no, but Rico, so you said from this point on, you only want to talk to people who deal with fantasy football.
Yes, it's very hard because it's the topic of my conversation. So when somebody says something to me, every guy says anything to me, one of my first 3 lines to them is, yes, he will have I think he'll have a great year for Dallas.
CeeDee Lamb, I do too. Yeah, good point. Oklahoma.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb will have a great year. Is within the first 2 questions. So you play fantasy football. If they say yes, first, who is your number 1 off the board? And then they'll tell me. I'll be like, oh, because I'll already know what draft pick they had. They'll say I took Ezekiel. I'll be like, oh, you had the third pick, because the first round is pretty much, it writes itself. It's not the first round that wins you the playoffs. It's 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round is what wins you your playoffs.
So, when I talk to people, like I said, my friend Felix, he read 6 books this weekend. Like, he's an intellectual. I know a lot of people who do charity work. You judge people by who they drafted in fantasy football. Is this correct? Is this what I'm hearing?
I'm not a judger, but yes, it'll sway my opinion of them. Is that a better way to say judging in a nicer way? It'll sway my opinion about them because it lets me know if they are a dreamer, if they are more based in reality, are they more of a thinker? A lot comes out of the first 2 rounds if you know somebody who they would pick. That's why you've seen me and Levi getting, we don't get in heated conversation. We connect. That's why we chose each other as partners. We're like writing partners. Like, I guess this is the way people spend the rest of their life together. Take me on. I will, George.
Rico.
George Lopez has been carrying me in basketball, giving me picks, and yesterday he gave me a big goose egg yesterday.
Yeah, he said he was 0 for 3 yesterday.
0 for 3, man. The best is when you're asking somebody for a favor and then they don't do it right and they apologize.
Yes, exactly. He's feeling bad. Sorry. He's feeling bad about it. And by the way, Rico, you and I wrote a animated sitcom together. So I've been your writing partner. And let me tell you something. It's me that's doing most of the writing. So yes. I'm sure Levi's doing most of the picking.
Yeah, but you know what? We had our script is great. It still is great. I've read it. Whenever I read it, I'm like, this is hilarious. Like, I had a comedy writer go, I can't believe you guys put so many jokes in a 22-minute and 22 pages. I said, that's right, because
it is the funniest concept that you came up with. Like, Rico gave me the idea, and then I just went with it, and he's like, add this, and we need to revisit that. People are going to start talking about that. We don't want to give them too much, Rico.
Yeah, no, we can't give them too much because it's great. It's such a good idea, and it was fun to write with you.
So again, we'll end with this, Rico. From this point until Super Bowl, you don't judge people, but your level of respect goes based on how smart they are in fantasy football. Correct?
Well, yes, that's the easy one. That's an easy.
Does your wife play fantasy football?
What's that?
Did your wife play fantasy football?
She used to love football. Then she met me in fantasy football. Now she doesn't even. She as soon as the Pittsburgh game is in the last 2 minutes, she's like, as soon as this is done, this is what we're doing. She really
So the one thing she loved, you destroyed it for her, is what you're saying.
Yes, she says that. That's exactly her words. Did she text you that? Because she says the one thing I love, Rico came in my life and destroyed. But too much.
I think we're going to end with that. Rico, tremendous job. Thank you so much for your Rico's rant. Always funny, always hilarious. Love having you on. We'll see you next week. And people, starting 2 weeks from Tuesday, Rico and I do an hour show just recapping the entire NFL. He breaks down every game in the AFC. I break down every game in the NFC. Rico, this isn't you're nodding that you're not closing off by saying anything. Rico's going mute.
I'm nodding because that's me being in full agreement and very excited about it. I can't wait. It's going to be because I just can't wait to hear yours. Is going to be so professional and mine's going to be so opinionated and so angry and so overly happy, depending on who I bet. Which please do not change the betting structure of the way you do it by giving me all AFC teams. So either I'm really, really angry or really happy with the play of teams.
Rico, what you do outside the show has no effect on me. You could bet every NFC game. I don't care. Thank you, and I feel sorry for Melissa that you've taken her love of football and destroyed it.
I hope I do more for others just the same way.
Oh, thank you, Rico. That was Rico. Show me the money, Graziano. Great job. Okay, let's get to my extra point. We do this every week, and basically the extra point is I just recap what happened in sports, what happened throughout the course of the week. This is Doc Rivers right here. Doc Rivers is the coach of the LA Clippers. Doc Rivers said this week, with all the violence that's going on, where innocent black men are being shot, where innocent black men, a racist white cop, hold down his knee on someone's neck for over 7 minutes while his hands are in his pocket, like he's casually, just living life. Doc Rivers said this week, African Americans, black people, love this country, but this country doesn't love us back. We're the ones getting killed. We're the ones getting assaulted. And you're seeing now a part of this country is saying, oh, I'm going to protest basketball. I'm going to protest basketball. Well, what are you going to do when Major League Baseball starts kneeling? Which they have. Okay, I'm going to protest baseball. Let's put on hockey. What are you going to do when hockey starts kneeling? Because they have. Oh, you know what? Screw basketball. Screw baseball. Screw football. Screw the NHL. I'm going to watch NASCAR and Formula One. Well, NASCAR and Formula One are now protesting as well. And it's peaceful protest. You tell me, Monte, this is a sports show. You don't need to talk politics. And you're right. This is not politics. This is about what's right and what's wrong. You tell me you don't want me to talk politics on my show, but we have the guy in the White House who's talking about sports. By the way, he should never talk about sports. He bankrupted the USFL. He sued the NFL. You know what the NFL gave him? $1. $1. That is true. He says here, this is one of his greatest sports predictions. Teams are making a big mistake not taking Johnny Manziel. He's going to be really good and exciting to watch. Johnny Manziel was out of the league in 2 years. He was a bust, one of the biggest busts of all time. He's now telling us that this is the radical mob that is doing this. No, it's corrupt police officers that are doing this. Has nothing to do with the radical mob. So you want to protest Black Lives Matter and the NBA? Go for it. You want to protest Major League Baseball? Go for it. You want to protest NHL? Go for it. You want to protest NASCAR and Formula One, go for it. But maybe the person you should be protesting is this guy, because he's on the wrong side of history all the time. He's on the wrong side of history all the time. And when it comes to sports in America, it's about unifying. It's not about dividing. So maybe the guy in the White House, maybe, just maybe, when it comes to sports, should shut up. Should shut up. I want to thank everyone for listening to the full Monte Sports Show. Yes, Doc Rivers' speech was very inspirational. Pete Carroll just said something along the same lines. You should listen to it. You should listen to it. So I want to thank Brad Ward for joining us. I want to thank Jared Milligan, my former, the student is now the teacher, is he? Me and Jared Milligan coached him in college, did a tremendous job covering the NBA. And of course, the fan favorite, Rico. Show me the money, Graziano. Did a tremendous job. And remember, I gave you part 1 of my story. I will break it down, and I will give you part 2 next week of the story. So thank you all for listening to the full Monte Sports Show. And in the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.